series here at Lancaster Golf Club. This is one of my favorite courses to play at. It's really close to me. I practice there a lot. I used to practice there with my team, so I know this course pretty well. Should be a good day. First drive, honestly a really bad swing to start the day. Pretty far left, just around that tree over there, kind of on that line where that left bunker is up by the green. I still had a long ways into this, so I think I had 190, so this is a 5-iron. But after a really bad drive, this is an amazing shot. Before the round and before this round, I found a thought for me with my right shoulder that's really been helping, so that's what I really focused on there. And from 190, sticking something this close, this putt was probably like 6 feet. So, but just barely left it short. It's kind of hard to judge the speed of these greens. They're a little bumpy, a little shaky sometimes, but after being in a not so good spot off the tee, hitting a 5-iron that close is a really good confidence booster. In this par 5, this second hole, this is always, I've said it in the past, this is always such a confidence boosting tee shot because it's so wide open, and if you really hit a good one, you could have a wedge into this par 5, which kind of isn't really fair. But we take advantage of those things and we move on. So I do believe I had like around 150 in, maybe less. But just anywhere up around that green. Just missed short left there, which honestly isn't bad because I'm chipping up the hill, because if you go a little too far, sometimes it's hard to putt. So into the green, I believe this is a lob wedge. I thought this would, I just landed a little too close to the pin. I thought this would check quicker. So I don't really want to have this downhill putt for my birdie look, especially with being that close in the par 5, but even this, I got a little work to do here. But we'll take a par on every hole today, so honestly, if that's a worse score I walk out of that hole with, can't complain. The target line on this drive here is that tree kind of sitting out in the middle, because I naturally play a draw anyway, so my feet are lined up there, you can probably see. Again, just really trying to think of this thought I've been thinking of, because I've really been struggling with being like across the line and hiking with my right hip, but it's not as bad when I look back and watch these swings, so happy to see that. Pretty good drive, a little left, a little low, but overall didn't curve much. With these hills here on the left, I'd rather be right on this hole off the tee, because sometimes you have a weird uphill or side hill lie going to this green, so just this club choice was a little off, a little weird. But we got something up just around that pin. Even though we're short, being close to pin eye, like I could putt this. And I know that sometimes the fringe is a little sketchy going through, but I'm just close enough to be able to really put a good roll on this. And really good judgment of speed there, especially since sometimes the lag putts on these greens are a little tricky. But tap and par, move on. This par 3 here, I've never played from these tees. These are the white tees, so they're pretty far up, which makes this course pretty short. But with this tee, like in this wind, I didn't even hit a bad shot. It was going right at the middle of the green, and I struck this so well. I believe this is a pitching wedge. I probably should have hit a gap wedge, but I looked down because I fly the green, and they had a rule this day where if you went like in the road long, then you could just drop only for this whole drop just in front of the road. So this is what I did. So this is for 3, and that's all I can really do, because if I get too cute, I might still not be on the green. So a lot of work left for a bogey, which is kind of scary to think about, but I really read this putt, and something about this putt just standing over it felt really good, and I put a good roll on it, and I'm glad it hit the hole, but drained it for the bogey. So really clutch up and down there for the bogey after flying the green. Yeah, we don't want those like putts for bogey. No. Another par 5. Up the hill for the tee shot. If you get up over that hill and stay in the fairway, you should be able to get there in 2. But honestly, it's kind of tough going for this green in 2 because there's bunkers that surround the green, and if you do go on them, you don't have much in, but I don't really want to be hitting a 50-yard bunker shot. So, but really good drive. Just trying to lay up around the general area of the green with the 5-iron here, I believe. But really good strike, kept it in play. We're in a good position, should have a flat lie. Little like 50 to 60-ish yard shot here is my guess. Got it up on the green. Honestly, for that kind of weird yardage, I usually use a lob wedge and just choke down on it and do kind of a 3/4 swing. So even though my proximity to the hole isn't like outstanding, having an uphill putt for birdie, even from like 20 feet, I will take that. Obviously, I know my wedge game could be better, but as long as I'm not missing greens from 60 yards like I have in the past, can't be mad. Now this par 4, this 6th hole can be tricky because if you see those trees, if you go right at those, then you don't really have an angle to pin, and the water up on the left is tricky because I'm hitting a driving iron or like a long iron off this tee because I do not want to go too far. But then if you have a weird kind of yardage, sometimes with this green, just how slopey it is, if you're short, you're in the water, and if you're long, you're not getting up and down. So really making sure and just taking time on club choice on the second shot is really important. So anything on the green, I will take that. Pretty flat putt. It's going to have a lot of break to it, but should be able to clean up for our par. Judge the speed pretty good there. Overrated a little bit, but we don't have much left for our par, so played that hole pretty well. Glad that we can walk out of this one with a par. This is the Island Green 7th hole. Sometimes the wind is a little tricky, but today I didn't feel like there was much at all, so just picking a club that I'm confident with, that I know I can strike well and be anywhere towards the middle of this green. But surprisingly went long. I think because it's been a little warmer lately, like a lot warmer, I think my clubs were just going further and I wasn't really expecting it. I believe that was a pitching wedge too, and I was still kind of long. And this chip here, I don't think I judged the lie very well, and it just didn't roll out as much as I thought. Probably should have been a sand wedge as opposed to hitting a lob wedge. So I have a lot left for our par, just barely misses the edge, so we'll just tap in. The only holes I have bogeyed so far are the par 3s, and honestly, I will take that. If I played a round of golf and I bogeyed every par 3, yeah, sure, it's not great to see a square on the scorecard, but it's a 4, so. This tee shot can be tricky with, and this actually wasn't a very good tee shot at all. This is like a push hooky stuck swing. Yeah, I just seem exaggerating what I just did. So I have a long ways in. I'm actually lucky my ball bounced back into the fairway. Great strike here though. I think I hit an 8-iron. I was really lucky with how it just bounced back into the fairway and I had this approach. But sometimes with uphill and club selection there, it gets a little weird. So just trying to get up and down. There's this like second tier that I'm on, chipping down to the lower tier. And I thought I judged this really well and just rolled out a lot more than I thought it would. So I still have like 15, 12 feet left from my par. But I felt confident with my line. I picked a line where I could hit it hard enough, and because going up the hill, I'd be okay if I hit it a little hard coming back. So good save. Actually, on this 9th hole, we weren't able to get my tee shot because I hit it quicker than anticipated, and the group was still in front of us, so sorry for hitting to them. But we hit our 4-iron over here on the trees on the right. So I believe, I don't have much in. I think this is an 8-iron I'm hitting, just trying to punch something, keep it low. Nice little cut. I thought that this would hit the front, and it just checked so quickly. I was kind of shocked to see that it did that, because I landed it probably like 3 yards short of the actual green, so I thought it would kind of hit that roll up, but I guess just the slope caught it and just killed it. But a good chip, probably like 5 feet left for our par. A lot of break in this one, probably played it a cup outside to the right. But just curls in, trusted the line, walking away with par to finish this front nine. Overall, I wouldn't say there were any parts of my game that stood out, bad or good. Everything was just kind of solid where it should have been, so not too bad of a front nine to start. This is one of the longest hole par 4s on the course, but if you hit a good drive, and especially being up on these white tees, I know if I hit a good drive I shouldn't have much in, so this is really just a hole that I'm trying to par. But good drive, actually went a little right. That's not been my miss, but if I were to have a miss, it would definitely be right opposed to that low left shot. Still have a good bit in, about like 180-ish, so I'm hitting a 7-iron here. And I'm trying to cut it towards the hole, and I hit it really good. It kind of just stayed straight over that like right edge of that bunker. So not mad with the swing and the shot that I was trying to play. Glad I'm not long. Not a horrible spot to be. Here, I think this chip, just looking at the lie and taking some practice swings, in my mind I thought it'd be a lob wedge, but I kind of just went under it. So I think that was definitely club choice. Could have definitely used a sand wedge and it would have checked out and been fine. So like 12 feet for a par, which having 12 footers for par, you're not going to make every single one of them. So we're going to walk out of this one with a bogey. This 11th hole, if you don't cut the ball or get it going right, you deal with those trees on the left, because if you don't hit it far enough left, then you have trees in your way. I bombed this drive, pushed it a little right so it's going over these trees on the right, but it was absolutely mashed, and we're going to be in perfect position, perfect. Only had like 55 yards here. This is just a lob wedge choked down, 3/4 swing, a little uphill. I'm just trying to make sure I stay over the ball and cover the ball. Left myself below the hole. Could have been a little bit closer, but we have like 20 feet up the hill for birdie with not much break to it. I tried to play like a cup outside right, and it just didn't break at all. But if I had that length of putt for par in every hole, and I signed my scorecard at the end of the day, I would be very happy. In the past, on this 12th hole, I have hit 5-wood and been just fine. But today, for some reason, I'm thinking the ball's going a little bit further. I'm hitting it a little bit further. I love my 4-iron. Even if I have a gap wedge in, I'm still fine with that. A wedge is a wedge. But this 4-iron was hammered, so I had a pretty short wedge. And this is like a 95-yard shot with this sand wedge. Just choked down a tiny bit. Not really full. This is a really good shot. Came in kind of low, but it had a ton of spin, especially left to right spin, and we stuck this one. So great shot, great execution, and now it's time to reward ourselves for that approach shot, make a birdie. On these putts, I had to be careful not to try to read them too much, just kind of putt it like I would any other putt. But we hit it good. Got our birdie, first birdie of the day. Good hole. You can see me rehearsing. That's the feeling I've been going for with that right foot back, trying to keep my right hip back, but get my right shoulder ahead of my body and just get my arms in front of my body more. Longer par 3 here. Chunked this one pretty bad, actually. and I don't know how, but it was just past pin high. So I'm actually lucky that I didn't take the club I was intending to take, which was a club extra, because I would have been over the green. So kind of a blessing in disguise chunking that iron there. But when you're rewarded like this unexpectedly, you kind of have to just reward yourself and say, hey, that's like getting a stroke back. So pretty good speed there on that first putt. This is a little work left, but tapping it in no problem. I would say that the miss here on this par 5, depending on how long you hit the ball, is probably left. So, pretty good drive. Little low. This is kind of just a fairway finder. Little droppy. Started out right, came back left, but we're in the fairway, so that's all that matters. Again, I've really been trying to work out these new things in my swing. This is a 4-iron, I believe. Didn't hit it very good. I still think I had like 100 yards in on this par 5. Not sure what happened. This gap wedge, I tried to choke down and just cut it off that bunker on the left, but it just stayed straight. And not a bad swing, but I just put myself in such a bad spot. Fried egg, ball below my feet. Long of this pin is really bad. This is just a really hard shot for me to commit to. I just did not get through it at all. Kind of looked up. Again, that wedge shot, just putting myself in this position. And even this is kind of a scary shot because of where my feet is. So, got it out. Even where that pin was, just making a mess of this hole. Just kind of a bummer because it's a par 5 and it should be gettable on a good day. But just putting myself in that bunker and that lie and that wedge shot is the reason why I'm going to walk out of here with a double bogey, sadly. But one bad hole doesn't determine a round, especially since I've been putting together a good round so far. I believe I have 7-iron in my hand here on this par 3, and it's so important that you get it to the green, because if you're short or if you're right on this hole, then you're kind of in big trouble. So good strike, good nice height on this ball. Put it towards the middle of the green. We're just gonna have a long lag up the hill, but we're putting, that's all that matters. The thing that's a little weird about these greens is sometimes they don't break as much, and sometimes you can't really see the break, so kind of got the break a little messed up here on my read and my line. But we tap in for par, so just walk away. Nice to hit a green and 2-putt, just play golf the simple way. Another really short par 5. The par 5s are pretty short out here, pretty gettable. But if you put yourself in the wrong position off the tee, it's a lot harder to make par. I'm choked down here. I tried to open the face and hit a fade, but it just goes dead straight through the trees and too far. And I'm a little worried at first that I won't be able to find my ball. Like, again, this is a great struck drive. If this was a straightaway hole, it would have been perfect, but we are too far, and I'm actually really lucky that I had a pretty good opening. The gap wasn't very big, but I had a gap, and that's all that mattered. So lately, on my punch shots, I've tried to crouch behind the ball to kind of see where I want to go with it. I'm actually glad this clipped the tree because I ended up being perfectly back in play, back in the fairway. And because this hole is so short, I advanced the ball, and I'm still able to get to the green with like an 8-iron or 9-iron. But it is kind of blind, kind of hard to tell how far it is. So I try to get there, I'm hoping that it's there, but it's just a little bit short, so I'm going to have that for my birdie. and this is such a long lag putt, and I have to get it up over that hill. This really isn't a strength of mine. Obviously, even the torque percentage of 2-putting from here isn't very high. Not saying that, making an excuse for 3-putting here, but just have to put a little bit more on these kinds of putts and just really take my time with looking at the speed. So sadly, we're going to 3-putt on a par 5, a bogey to par 5. But this next hole, this next tee shot are a good bounce back. Again, I usually hit 5-wood on this hole. My fairway woods haven't been the best lately. I think I mentioned that. But I know that this 4-iron is just been on fire recently, and I know I can just cook a draw with this. And this is perfectly put into play. Just a little high baby draw. Absolutely mashed. Approach down the hill. I always find myself hitting these choke down kind of cut swings to this hole. And this was like, I'm telling you, 2 yards away from being perfect. So even though I'm off the green here, I really in my mind was thinking I can make this putt. I know I can. I took the pin out. I was so close. I was like, gosh, a birdie would be so nice right now. But a par is not bad. Won't complain at all. Moving on to this 18th hole. Again, playing from the white tees is playing a lot shorter, so there's water out on the right that's by this 6th and 7th hole. So I even choked down a little bit on this, took some off, absolutely mashed. It's going out to the trees over there on the right, and I think it's good. I think it's safe, I think it's fine. And I'm actually really fortunate that my approach stayed in a playable lie. This was probably one of my favorite shots that I hit from this tournament. Hitting it from the muddy water over there. There was a lot of water around my ball, but I picked a good club, got something up on the green, which is a huge clutch bonus. So try my best to 2-putt here. Again, just the speed of these greens and the line sometimes is really tricky. That was not so good of a putt. But wish we wouldn't leave ourselves with 8 feet for a par on the 18th hole. But we tapped in for bogey and we put together ourselves a pretty decent round. Shot a 40 on the back 9. That double on that par 5 kind of killed me, and those 2 3-putts kind of killed me. But other than that, some good golf played, good score posted. Let's hope we can build off this, keep doing the good things, and work on the bad things.